Renovations create waste. A lot of waste. In fact, the average Canadian home reconstruction creates 17 pounds of waste per square foot. In metric, that's almost 70 kilos per square meter. Now, the waste being created in our Delta Upsilon house here in London, Ontario, well, it's even more than 17 pounds per square foot because a lot of mistakes are being made in there.
Under the watchful eye of ex-fraternity member and A-list celebrity Alan Thicke.
Poor Alan. You're disappointed in me, aren't you?
The workers on our show have already created literally tons of garbage and mess and destruction and waste.
What do you do, Alan Thicke?
He would look for better builders, but
This is Canada's worst handyman.
The saw doesn't like me.
we have two expert builders on our show. General contractor Jeff Woodmansey and home renovator Gail Prosser-Craig.
You put your drywall knife on there, rip up.
Every day, Jeff and Gail teach the bad handyman in our classroom.
You depress the safety switch and trigger the saw, so you have control of the tool.
At the end of each class, Gail and Jeff watch the bad handyman execute what they've learned.
This is just so ridiculous.
At the end of each show, the experts help me decide which nominee is the worst.
Corey.
Dean.
Simon.
Matt.
Corey's the worst.
The 5 nominees for Canada's worst handyman are Simon, a retired teacher from North Sydney, Cape Breton.
I honestly don't know why I was picked.
Simon's wife, Linda, nominated him for our award because of Simon's low level of craftsmanship and his high level of denial.
There's a lot of rough around the edges, but the work is done.
Yeah, right, okay.
Then there's Corey, a licensed mechanic from Burns Lake, British Columbia.
Didn't say anything about how pretty it had to be.
Corey's fiancée, Kim, nominated him as Canada's worst handyman because Corey can't stay calm while building.
There's how many rec rooms?
Another one, geez.
And I don't know where it is.
Chainsaw's being a piece of
Dean works with youth in High Prairie, Alberta. At home, it's his brother who works.
Can I pay my brother $20? He'll do it.
Dean's twin brother, Doug, used to do everything for Dean. Now, though, he lives in another town, and his phone won't stop ringing.
I'm getting tired of him, calling me and phoning me and see how to do things, the right way to do things.
From Elmsdale, Nova Scotia, we've got Matt, an ex-military man who lives by his own building code.
The Matt code. Do what you gotta do to get her done quick.
Matt's friend, Silent Keith, could tell you how dangerous Matt is, but the evidence speaks for itself.
Ooh, that's live.
And finally, there's Angela from Spruce Grove, Alberta.
A couple of years ago, she put this mirror up, took the vanity down, and strung the lights over top.
Well, why don't you fix it then? It's been sitting there for 2 years.
Because you started it.
Angela's spouse, Matt, nominated her because she never finishes what she starts.
She doesn't understand that when you undertake something, you have to finish it, and how much work it entails.
Perhaps, though, Angela giving up on projects is a good thing.
So I was sticking the knife in here and I stuck it into...
Electricity. It can weld pretty much anything to anything, whether you want it to or not. To weld only what you want with electricity, you need one of these bad boys. This is a MIG flux core wire feed arc welder. Costs about $500, and the amount of work it can do is truly shocking. To make sure the nominees for Canada's Worst Handyman know how to use one correctly, they're about to get a lesson right now upstairs from our expert Jeff. And my head is itchy.
We're gonna do some welding today.
There are many types of welders. An arc feed wire welder is the simplest.
This trigger feeds the wire.
When a wire feeding arc welder is on, it's drawing residential AC power from the wall. Alternating current means the power comes in repetitive bursts. The welding machine turns that alternating current into DC, direct current, which flows evenly. At this stage, if you touch the welder's tip to steel, nothing happens because the electricity knows the steel isn't part of a circuit. However, when you clamp onto that same steel with the welder's grounding cable, the electricity senses the circuit and takes a leap of faith in the form of an arc that sizzles at 6,000 degrees, melting the steel wire as it comes out. Welding.
There is no risk of holding this material to this material. You will not get electrocuted. Okay, so mask up. It's that fast.
While everybody sees how welding works firsthand,
You can see that now, eh?
Oh, yeah. Oh.
they learn to move the welder in continuous small circles.
You're going left and right again.
This is information that should stick.
Slow it down. Nice. Now you're getting it. There you go. Slow it down. There. Take your time. Move to the right. There you go. You're done. That's it.
The primary goal of this challenge is staying safe.
Don't get burned. Don't get flashes in your eyes.
The challenge is making a frame.
So what goes on top of this? Be a sheet of plywood, foam, and fabric wrapped around it, and you've got yourself a bench.
Simon starts by channeling positive energy.
Maybe this is my day, you never know.
Angela handles negative energy.
I don't know how this is going to work out for you, Ange.
And Corey
This is a cool tool.
is energized by the handheld bandsaw.
Whoa, that is a cool tool.
Isn't that neat?
This new-to-the-market saw is easy to use. But it is dangerous.
Angela, get your fingers off the drum. Like your hands are going right into the spinning part.
When Corey's legs are all cut,
Man, that's cool.
he tacks his frame together. A tack refers to a small weld that barely holds.
Very nice.
The reason welders start
Welding?
by lightly tacking their work is because small tacks allow for minor adjustments before a larger weld will create the permanent bond. Down the hall, Angela is having difficulty. She can't even start.
Why is it doing that?
It's doing that because the extending wire is pushing this piece of steel away, leaving only this piece grounded.
Weld? Okay, what's wrong with this? Seriously.
I'm also seeing problems in Simon's room.
This is a nightmare, pure nightmare.
Stop it.
Simon's problem is that he's bouncing the welder all over the place. This bouncing creates splatters instead of a puddle of molten steel.
That's a mess. Did they give us a grinder?
This kind of mess is what welders call popcorn. And it's something good welders know how to avoid.
Okay.
Good job.
When the tip of the welder starts running wire and arcing, it should be held in place momentarily so that a puddle starts to form. Then the welder should begin looping in small circles, filling the gap with weld. Stay still, and you'll burn a hole through. Move too fast, you'll create popcorn.
That is a perfect weld.
That is perfect, but even imperfect welds can be made perfect quite easily. From there, it's the cushiest part of this soft seat project.
I'm not gonna be the worst. Beauty.
First to reach the checkered flag is Corey, who finishes his bench in just under 2.5 hours.
Done. That thing is bulletproof.
This is a pass everyone can agree on.
And I think it's actually the first one that you've actually passed properly.
I passed them all.
When we come back,
Hey, wait!
the rest of the Canada's Worst Handyman nominees finish their welding projects.
Oh.
And I'm gonna weld now.
The nominees
Welding, brother, welding.
for Canada's Worst Handyman
Welding?
have learned to weld.
All right, give her.
And now they're making bench seats out of steel.
Well,
Angela successfully welds the frame of her bench. But welding on the legs, Angela learns a whole new lesson.
uh-oh.
What do you mean, uh-oh?
I made a hole.
Ironically, the way to fix this welding wound is by welding.
You can fill that
Okay.
with weld.
With just a more weld.
With more weld.
Okay.
Okay?
To fill her hole, Angela has to weld what's called a bead on the base lip. Then let it cool. Then she must add another bead. Then let it cool. More welding, more cooling, welding, cooling, hot, cold, bing, bang, boom. It's done.
Okay. That should hold.
A good weld will hold under a lot of pressure. A bad weld will have less strength than aluminum foil.
You knocked it off.
Simon is still making popcorn instead of a puddle.
I don't think that's gonna work.
Nope.
Nothing Simon randomly tries works.
The net.
He should do what he was taught in class.
You should have waited till it was cool.
This weld looks pretty strong to Simon.
And it's pretty straight, too.
Yeah, I think so.
Huh? Oh, for frick's sake.
This is kind of tilted this way.
I like to have it there.
Yeah, but it's kind of tilted.
I like
Look.
to have it there.
Simon,
Ah,
Simon was a teacher,
stop.
so you'd think he'd be open to the concept of being taught.
Do you want me to get Corey in here? Because Corey's welded for years, basically welded his whole life, and he can help you.
said, how can he help me? He's not gonna do it for me and I can't do it.
He did it with Jeff in class.
I'm having a terrible time, Jeff. Sorry.
And that's it. That's all you got to do. Just little circles.
When someone forces Simon to concentrate, he's fine.
Oh, man, you're doing it now. That's, keep her going. Keep her going. Okay, release the trigger and pull back.
Well, that was by far the best one. Thank you.
You got it?
Well,
Simon can get this if he just stays focused. Like Matt, who's almost done. When Matt gets all his jagged welds ground down, he gets to work on his cushion. Matt
Hold it tight.
came here admitting he needs rehabilitation.
Hey, Andrew! Finish!
Good man.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly a pass.
Thank you.
Getting rehabilitated is like winning the lottery.
I feel like $1 million. Like I deserve a beer.
Angela has to do more welding.
Why didn't you tell me it was like that?
Because it's not my project.
Instead of finishing her welding, Angela starts her cushion.
I've got a whole bunch of welds to fix, but I just want to get this on.
Getting sidetracked from jobs is why Matt nominated Angela.
I'm going to prove him wrong, that I can't finish and that I won't finish, and that I can't finish things 100%.
You're never gonna get done.
Well, you're not very encouraging.
I'd like to be encouraging about Dean's bench, but Dean's welds just never look promising.
Look at that. What a waste of perfectly good steel.
Simon
Welding.
is creating similar waste.
I'm not getting anywhere at all, am I?
Well, you got about 3 legs on. That's more than what you normally do.
With this weld, you could say Simon now has 4 legs. Or you could say he has 2.
Oh, frick. Ah.
Corey steps in to save Simon's day.
That looks pretty good. Oh, that's pretty good, huh? Keep going, Corey. Freaking. I'll get you just to fill in that, so then you'll get the credit for it. Yeah.
Part of rehab is building confidence.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So let's give Simon the credit for this.
You did it, man.
Simon's passion deserves encouragement.
Being able to sit on a bench that I made and the legs stayed up, it was the best feeling in the world.
Angela's bench
A little bit wobbly.
is almost done.
It's a little wobbly, but I just have to even out the legs.
Angela always has one thing undone.
I think I'm doing really well. I'm pretty proud of the work I'm doing, actually.
Dean is finally working on his cushion, but the staple gun is confusing him. It's firing staples that Dean is not seeing because he expects them to come out the other end.
Did you staple yourself?
Yeah.
Ay, what did you do?
I was been backwards, I guess.
Ooh.
That's okay.
You okay, man?
Oh, yeah.
Dean's okay, but his cushion is going to have to be boiled.
I can't believe we got through all that welding without anybody getting hurt, but making a cushion drew blood.
Dean's bench is nothing to laugh about. When we come back,
I hate working with glass.
Canada's worst handymen learn how to replace a transom window.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Not in that too bad.
Inside the Delta Upsilon Fraternity House, Canada's worst handymen are dealing with vandalism.
Hey, my room!
Oh, no.
Oh, dear.
Well, the good news is there's a how to replace a glass window class about to happen downstairs right now.
Aha.
The class will be taught by our expert Gail.
To cut glass, we use a glass cutting tool. It has a small wheel on the end of it, which is going to score our glass. Grab a straight edge. You need to hear that zipper sound throughout your entire cut.
Is Dean paying attention? Let's find out. In class, Dean didn't just learn about cutting glass. He learned about removing a frame, cleaning a frame up, and fixing glass into a frame. Dean seems to get the picture. Although he's starting to get tired, which is when accidents happen.
Rehab is not easy.
Rehab is never easy. Okay, let's not do that. Let's stop right there. Now you're pointing a chisel right at you and putting force on it. Never like that. Always toward your brother. Always.
When the glass's surface is scratched in a straight line, Dean taps the scratch to help further break the bonds of surface tension.
Woo! 1, 2, 3, snap.
You're gonna get a job as a glass cutter, man.
Dean's glass.
Dean learned to secure glass in place using these diamond tips. The diamond tips stick into the frame, locking the pane in place. When that's done, he grabs a gob of glazing.
Kind of warm it up, she said.
Handling the glazing heats it, making it more spreadable. The purpose of this product is to seal out drafts, help secure the glass, and, unlike silicone caulking, glazing can be painted.
Brother, we're done.
When the framed window goes back in place, Dean is indeed done. Perfectly.
I'm going to open up a glass shop called Wolf Glass in Gift Lake, Alberta.
When the other Canada's Worst Handyman candidates
Ken and I got it, yeah.
removed their window frames,
Clark! You should have chiseled it. You're gonna need that frame later.
Nope.
Matt's constant hard work deserves a reward, and I've got one for him.
Nice! That is badass, buddy.
That now, sir, is for you.
Thanks, buddy. I'll wear that with pride.
I know.
That's a keeper, bud. This is the new Mohawk helmet, and I'm gonna wear it for the rest of the show. I'll make sure to keep it nice and gelled at all times.
The key to a clean glass break is a straight scratch and even pressure. But Corey's first scratch has flaws. And so does his break. It's been said that vice grips can fix any problem. And apparently, vice grips can be used to resize glass.
Working good, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Although it is time-consuming.
Yeah, it's a little bit too big.
I thought you measured it.
I did.
It's gonna be no good.
If your glass happens to not break cleanly, don't reach for your vice grips. Go back to your glass cutting tool. Glass cutters have teeth designed to chew through this common problem.
I'll keep working at it.
Yep. Just eat away at that stuff.
This would be the happiest day of my life if I could make one cut.
Making only one cut requires taking perfect measurements.
Too long, no?
A little too long?
I always do that.
Can't you chisel it out a bit?
I gotta take a lot off. I gotta take a lot off.
Glazing fresh out of the tub is often too stiff, which is why Gail recommended adding water to smooth it down.
She was right when she said use water on it.
A few screws later,
There we go.
and Matt is
Done.
Matt's progress must make Silent Keith proud. With an unsalvageable frame, Corey installs his glass where the frame used to be. And there's no diamond tips along the top edge.
Oh, I hate working with glass. I hate that.
Over time, this window could rattle out.
My window was crap.
Angela's window is ready for glazing.
Take my snakes of putty I made, please.
If Angela would just add some water to this stiff glazing, she could really finish this job.
Well, it's not pretty, but it's done.
Not pretty is not done.
I mean, that is terrible in terms of like the bounciness, the bumpiness of it all.
Simon's window has hinges.
And I need a screwdriver.
But when he screws them back on, his window hangs a little low.
Qu'est-ce que c'est le problème, my friend?
I have no idea.
I know.
Tightening the screws would solve this problem.
What did I do wrong?
What did I do wrong?
Simon, I'm going to keep hitting this into my head until you tell me what's going wrong here. What have you done wrong?
Did I put it down the wrong way? No? Oh my God. Okay, that's it. I don't know what I did wrong. Sorry.
We'll call that a fail.
Okay, good enough.
To calm Simon down, I help him shut the window.
I calmed you. Kiss me.
When we come back,
You're married to a useless handyman.
That's right.
the nominees hang spinning disco balls.
That doesn't spin it, huh?
Fraternity houses really are a great place for deep philosophical debates and intense mathematical discussions. And of course, parties! The next challenge for Canada's worst handyman is setting a disco ball in their frat room and rig the place out with laser lights.
Everything the nominees need to know about installing their
Disco ball!
is inside the packaging.
I think this is supposed to look easy, but I think it's going to be hard.
No.
The disco balls have little motors that must somewhere plug in.
My plug-in is here, so I could run that there and then down.
Simon starts by hanging his disco ball on an existing hook.
That doesn't spin it, huh?
You can put this up, Simon, with it.
What is that?
This is the spinner.
Simon tries attaching the spinner to the hook,
Just my luck, it won't fit.
and then Simon looks for a whole different location.
There's no stud there.
Dean sounds a little hoarse, but he gets all of his lights up. To make sure the electricity runs smoothly,
I can have a nail out of there and I can have it rounded and hang it.
Whatever you want.
the wires should not be wrapped around nails. And
Right in my wire.
they definitely shouldn't be stapled.
Oops.
What did you have?
Stapled the wire.
In the expert's room,
Line it up.
the wires have all been left slack
The party's gonna be here any minute.
while the lights get tested.
To hide our wires, we're going to use this flat conduit. You feed the wires through here. This is snapped closed. And then using the double-sided tape on the back, we attach to the wall.
This conduit can be painted, so after it's installed, it can disappear into the wall.
Watch this.
We've used the conduit to run all of our wires to one single power source, so with the flick of a switch, instant party.
You could study in this room before, but now it's suitable for higher learning.
Can you imagine doing homework to that? Oh my God.
Corey
This is my new favorite tool.
cuts conduit without measuring.
Oh, I'm long doing it. That freaking works awesome.
And he tosses away the corner piece.
I'm not bothered with the teeth. Can we hit the lights?
Your disco ball's not doing anything, and all the lights are in one spot. Now that Could probably go in that corner.
You know what? Good enough.
Corey's room sure ain't party central.
I guess I didn't plan it out very good.
Dean didn't plan very well either.
Come on, this better work, my man. Yes? And? Where's the light hitting this one?
It missed the ball.
Dean really isn't on the ball.
So the stuff's supposed to go round and round, and it didn't happen.
When the bad builders went to the supply store back on day one, Matt already knew that he wanted to turn his frat house room into a gentleman's club.
Bar fridge. We're putting a bar in, aren't we?
Instead of just purchasing hardware,
Blender. Nice for the bar.
Matt picked up items like black lights.
We'll grab 2.
And a stereo system.
Might as well get the surround sound if we're gonna put a TV in. You see those black lights, I bet.
The extra lights get installed in what Matt calls the VIP room. But in fact, Matt's VIP room is
Underneath the bed.
Underneath the bed and outside where the stripper pole's gonna be.
Wicked. So we're gonna leave the VIP, exit, and go where?
to the stage, of course.
And the stripper pole's here. Bar's gonna be over there.
Bar's gonna be over there. The pass or fail?
I'd say it's a pass.
How could you not?
Matt's room is Party Central.
Perfect.
Over in Angela's room,
It is mountable.
Okay.
instead of mounting the lights, Angela just sets them down and says she's finished.
I think it's pass.
Not really finishing is not really passing.
Not finished, which you saw the evidence.
Oh, the chords are unreal. The chords on chords on chords.
Simon has a mess of chords
He changes his mind every 5 minutes.
because he never came up with a plan.
But I can put that in there.
No.
Yes, I can.
It's going down straight. It's going down straight.
It's,
Later on, you can lower this or bring it over.
what do you mean
And
by
then-
later on? I'm not fooling around with this anymore. That's how it's going to look.
It looks ugly, but everything does light up.
Oh, my Lord, it's a pass, it's a pass, a pass, a pass.
Passing could have been easier.
If I had to do it over again, I think I plan ahead.
When we come back,
Read the instructions, man!
we're in the kitchen for this episode's Red Hot Group Challenge.
Watch yourself.
How's it going, Matt?
Slow and steady wins the race.
Some people go to post-secondary schools for the information. Some go for the beer.
Keeping beer cold can be an education unto itself, though. And it's part of the next group challenge for Canada's Worst Handyman. Specifically, they'll be taking an old fridge like this and turning it into a beer cooling kegerator. Because these hats are just annoying to drink out of.
Angela, the foreman of today's challenge, must make the kegerator, get the walls covered in aluminum sheeting, and the kitchen island must get fully completed, which means installing this huge countertop our experts made.
For you guys to buy a piece exactly what you wanted, cost $600, or we could buy 2 pieces for $110 each and fix them together.
And that's exactly what we did. To turn 2 countertops into one, the experts used a technique called biscuit joining. This is a biscuit. This is a biscuit joining tool. The tool's job is to cut out slots just big enough for the biscuits. Biscuit joining is considered advanced because if you miss your mark on the cut by even 1/8 of an inch, the work won't come together properly.
Now that we've glued and clamped our countertop together, all we have to do is let this cure overnight, come back tomorrow, and sand it smooth.
Angela wants to hold off on dealing with the countertop. First, Dean is assigned the job of cutting metal. Matt goes on plumbing duty.
Water looks healthy.
And the kegerator is tackled by Corey and Simon.
Oh, I already broke it.
Wait, do you guys have the directions for the kegerator yet?
No.
Let's read them first.
Looks pretty simple. I say that every time when I screw it up.
Connecting the sink drain is confusing Matt. What he can't figure out is how to attach this ABS pipe to the original drain pipe. But I have the answer.
So simple little fitting, right? Costs next to nothing. You unscrew it. There's a little magical O-ring in here. This is called a compression fitting, and what compresses is that little O-ring, okay? So if the pipe comes out here, this goes on the pipe, then you put the O-ring in, and then you thread this on, crushes it, sealed forever.
Perfect.
Got it?
Thank you.
As Matt follows my instructions downstairs, upstairs,
Read the instructions, man!
Corey has mistakenly ripped out the freezer door.
Where is the door?
Where's the door, Corey?
That was dumb. So I didn't think we'd need it.
Have you read this?
Yeah, I looked at it.
Do you want to give it a quick read and then maybe you'll understand? Because I know it takes me 2 or 3 times to read through something to get it. Or not.
If you follow the instructions, the hardest thing about making a kegerator
There we go. Nice.
well, actually making a kegerator isn't hard at all.
Beer on tap. That is sweet.
What isn't sweet
Now what?
Now let's measure it from side to side.
is watching Corey and Angela try to figure out where to cut the hole for their sink.
How do you know where to create the lip that this is going to hang off?
This problem began back in episode 2, when the bad handyman needlessly opened their sink, then threw away the packaging.
Mr. Foreman, I'm going to take this garbage out. Okay. Away.
I went out and retrieved the packaging because I know that sink boxes always have directions in them and templates on them.
Usually it's a traceable thing. This one's actually like perforated, so you can see the exact size and shape that you want. You take that off, you lay the final thing down, you trace around it, and your sink magically fits in the hole. Template, crucial part of any sink.
I could give Corey back the template.
14.
You need a jigsaw?
But what's the point? He won't follow directions anyway. Outside, Dean left the connection between the grinder and the extension cord lying in a puddle of water.
Holy.
This reminds me of that old saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 4 times with an extension cord, and I'm lucky to be alive.
Oh, it's wet.
Maybe Dean will try licking it dry. Before it's too late, we shut down the metal cutting shop. Inside,
Got it.
the island's surface is laid in place. The sink is laid in place,
Perfect.
and the search for answers begins.
How does this stay on? Glues or what?
This? Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
you're supposed to have clamps
You're
underneath.
supposed to clamp it underneath.
from where?
Where's the directions? Where's the sink directions?
With the island 95% done, Angela's time is all down the drain.
But could this have been handled in this amount of time?
Oh, for sure.
When we come back, someone is named this episode's worst handyman. This episode, the nominees for Canada's Worst Handyman welded.
Can't see anything.
They hung party lights, and they fixed windows.
I hate that.
To choose which handyman was the worst, I'm joined by the experts for final inspections, starting with Dean.
How was this episode for you?
Not good.
No?
No.
His welding sure wasn't good.
The reason this weld failed was because you've only welded the leg. You haven't actually welded the frame. I mean, it's going to fail every time.
Worse than weak legs in a frat house.
I stapled my hand.
Dean's disco ball doesn't light up.
I wasn't on the ball when I was putting that on.
All of Angela's work this episode was done
95%. I need to tip off the ends of these two.
And what's the 95% about the window?
Gail answers that.
You need to clean up your glazing.
How about lighting?
We put two things up.
That means one thing isn't up.
I guess I should have put it up.
Matt put up an excellent display of welding.
When I took my time and I moved it back and forth, you can actually see it build up and move like an S formation. It was wicked.
Speaking of wicked.
I think this room gets sexier and sexier every time I come in it.
Thank you very much.
Speaking of sexy.
I'll have a party when I get home, don't you worry.
Simon got every job finished this episode. Corey aced the benchmaking challenge,
I got it back on it. That was extracurricular.
but he went bust at the disco.
The lighting's not really making me feel like I want to party.
Me neither, actually.
And his frameless window is loose.
I was hoping you wouldn't see that part.
I see everything. Watching you.
It's time to choose this episode's worst.
I've got Dean.
Corey.
Yeah, let's talk about this. Corey?
Corey's just rushing through it. He's too macho, and he needs to slow down and do what it's going to take to make his room beautiful. He broke his window frame, the disco ball. There's no party in that room.
And I've got Dean that couldn't even get his legs on his table properly. This guy's had full instruction. He's had his hands on the tools, and he's not getting at it at all.
All right, this is the first real debate we've had this season, I would say. I mean, this because I got somebody different completely.
Before naming the worst, I'm going to give the most improved person
This luxurious golden hard hat, and with it the honor of being the foreman of the next group challenge. And the most improved for this episode is... Simon.
Come on.
Simon, you know it's you.
I know what.
You know it's you.
Good job, buddy. You're setting me up.
You got your bench welded, you got your window in, and you're starting to relax.
Oh, yeah. Santon, the Santon, the Santon.
Congratulations on your improvement, sir. Which brings us to the worst. The worst for this episode suffers from something we know all too much about here at the Rehab Center.
This person suffers from a common illness called not finishing.
Oh, no. Angela, I'm sorry to say that you are this episode's worst.
In the lounge, Matt is taking pleasure watching this.
They're just kind of proving my whole point and why she's here is that it's never done, right?
This is the whole point you came, right?
Yes.
To learn to finish.
Yes.
Let's go hang your head in shame.
Okay.
Everybody else, you're free to go.
Thank you.
You and I, we're gonna go do some homework.
Okay.
I take Angela back to her room.
What's finished in here?
Nothing.
Nothing?
For homework, Angela has to finish something.
What prevents you from finishing?
It's like a mental block.
Would you rather just go downstairs and finish off the cake?
Yeah, that'd be better. That's a test. I'm finishing.
If we finish this bench, your homework is done.
It would be typical of me to say just leave it for another day. But I'm here to rehabilitate myself, so I'll finish now.
On the next episode of Canada's Worst Handyman,
My blood pressure is sky high right now.
serious problems come crashing down around our bad builders. It really is no laughing matter.
You're supposed to give me a hug.
I'm joking.
No, you're not.
I'm totally joking. Ange,